The first witness we're going to call up is Ray Harris. And I apologize, Ray. I had your traditional name written down, but I lost my notes.
Tala haitsap ka siem nesiaya siem squallowan kunete qualap kutat nakwel si squat siems who tala haitska squallowan squetkin saltsilastat haitsap ka siem nesiaya Justin so hag kusi meet etzel while the siem squallowan kunetan kutat si shais Uchi te twalap mok twalap bini kwalat na kwel. Siem squalawan kunete kwalap haichka. I want to say thank you so much. It's my honor to be here to witness this, and being asked to be a witness. I want to say it's an honor to be here to witness when we recognize and honor this great man that is before us. I want to say thank you. I heard so many good words today. And I actually heard lots of words that are helpful. People are putting forward themselves, their offices, their persons, their families to help with this wonderful effort to improve the lot of our salmon, our seafood, sast and mokstim. Tala. Well, quite the siem squall and kunetan that swallow. Heights up.
Shalquitlam. I found my notes. Next, we're going to call up Jossie. Jossie, you come up and share with what you've witnessed here today.
Thank you. I paid them for that. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let's prove we're still awake. It's an honor to be here. I'm thankful anytime I get the opportunity to talk about Uncle Billy. It's a story that everybody needs to hear. You know, there was a lot of experts, there was a lot of numbers, there was a lot of really, really important facts, a lot of very important ideas that were discussed here. I want to just briefly rewind before I talk about what I witnessed to kind of what I seen as the core of what Uncle Billy was about. He always emphasized telling our story. Always talked about telling our story. Tell your story, tell your story, tell your story. 1,000,000 times, tell your story. And just when we're presenting these facts, when we're presenting these ideas, they're very important. But these stories have power. And we can never forget the story, the context around those numbers, those statistics, those ideas, those legal arguments. In the Amskapi Pakani tradition, the Southern Pagan, Blackfeet people, our songs, our powwow songs, for example, they don't have words in them. They don't have words in them. Only our ceremonial songs have words in them. And the reason why is because those words incant spirits. They incant energy, their prayers. When we tell our story, those are prayers. We're transmitting information from people who've never seen our communities to our communities. They get to see those kids. They get to see those fish. They get to see how there's less fish today than there was yesterday. And so I just want to give the general admonishment that we can never forget our stories. And we can never forget the reason why we have these lawyers. I'm a lawyer. Why we have me. It's not because we know anything better. It's because hopefully we'll be able to translate some of these stories. And those stories are actually all the power we need. 100% of the power we need. What I've witnessed today was an amazing gathering, obviously in behalf to honor Uncle Billy Frank. But as my auntie Nancy Shippentauer said, this ain't a memorial. It can't be a memorial. It's got to be about what we're doing today, what we're doing tomorrow, to further that legacy in 2018 and 2019 terms. How do we bring Uncle Billy's work to tomorrow and to a year from now and to 100 years from now? Because if it's a memorial, then we're losing the purpose. So how do we do that? Well, one of the ideas that was thrown around a whole bunch, Uncle Glenn Goldman talked about it a whole bunch, is working together. I had the opportunity, Willie remembers this, right before Uncle Billy passed, I went up to their house and I got to interview him. And it was actually, I have the video of it, and someday I'm going to put it on YouTube or something like that. But it was an interview, and I asked Uncle Billy, what happened to the spirit of activism that happened, when you were young? And he said, well, that fighting spirit, that warrior spirit is still there. He said, but now tribes use it to fight with themselves. And if you look at US v. Washington, you'll see any number of litigations where tribes are fighting each other. And I think about it as a parent. I'll be damned if I'm going to have a white man dictating between me and my significant other who can have custody of that sacred responsibility. Why can't we work out these disagreements between ourselves? Why can't tribes get together? Why do we need that white mediator to tell us what we should and should not do, how we should interact with each other as human beings? So I took that very, very heavily, Glenn. We talked about working together. The other thing that I witnessed, this was the other overriding theme, was we can't focus on these constructed borders between Canada and the United States. The salmon don't recognize that border. Their problems are our problems, and our problems are their problems. And so we have to have a willingness to have conversations and to enter into good faith and a conversation and a real meaningful conversation with our neighbors, our family to the north. And to be willing to extend that working together theme past just the native nations within the Salish Sea area, but instead to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, to Eastern Washington, Yakima, Colville, because those are salmon people as well. And what they do also affects us, and what we do also affects them. So I think the theme that I saw as a big theme today, what I witnessed, was that we just need to step back and think like Uncle Billy for a second and have a bigger view, a much bigger view of this salmon struggle. It's not just about Washington. It's not just about the Puget Sound. It's not just about Western Washington. It's about the whole nation and how we're treating the earth, how we interact with other tribal nations, how we're willing to talk to each other or not talk to each other. And ultimately, to the degree that we're willing to work together, that will be the indication of whether we're successful in this fight to bring our salmon back to the degree that they should be here. Thank you all for the honor. I appreciate you.
we have someone that's been sitting here all day. And whether they know it or not, sometimes we watch and see how our state representatives pay attention. I've seen Hillary sit here all day paying attention to what's going on. And I want to show her that respect and honor that by asking her to be our next witness speaker.
I'm gonna get dirty now. All right, this is a fight. We know that, but so let me first start by thanking the Tulalip community for having me here today, and it's an honor every time I'm invited into your community, as well as all of our tribal communities. I also want to thank you for the honor to bear witness. Anybody who knows me well knows how much it touches me to be brought into your community, to brought into your sacred space, to be brought into your sacred stories. To be a witness is just another level, and I'm just honored. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Fawn, you are an amazing leader. You're an amazing woman. You opened today reminding us that tomorrow is spring, the first day of spring, and that spring is a moment of renewal, and urging us to renew our commitment to our Maker, to our Mother Earth, to our minds, our spirits, and our hearts. Today, I bear witness to three really significant stories and contexts. One, it all starts with salmon, and that salmon remind us that our world is far larger than me, than you, than any of us. That we are all blessed to even walk this earth, to live on this earth, and to lead on this earth. And that we can never, ever forget that. Salmon remind us that we are also connected. It reminds us that we're connected by and brings us together. That we are connected through our state lines. Alaska, Idaho, Oregon, Washington. The salmon connect our states and our boundaries. The salmon connect us also by nations. Canada, US, our tribal nations. Salmon also connect our generations. My ancestors, your ancestors, ourselves, our children. They also connect our politics because we all depend on our salmon to feed our hearts, our minds, our bodies, and our spirits. And as Billy Frank Jr. said, it's going to take all of us working together to turn the tide for salmon. And lastly, salmon remind us, and this is the big thing to take away from today that I bear witness and all of you bear witness, is that as their numbers decline, the status quo is absolutely not acceptable. Status quo is failing. It's failing our ancestors, it's failing ourselves, it's failing our children, and it is failing the Maker who put us on this earth and gave us this opportunity. So I join you as a Commissioner of Public Lands who are responsible for managing 2.6 million acres of aquatic land, some of the most prime, precious habitat for salmon once and going into the future. I commit that we are going to do everything possible to protect that our existing habitat that is thriving, alive, and generating. I promise to commit that we are going to work to restore that critical habitat that has been lost long, long time ago and still to this day with ever-growing population. I promise that we will also address whatever it takes the significant barriers that stand in the way of their return, whether it's culverts or bulkheads or anything else. I stand with you to help make sure that we deliver on our responsibility, not only to our ancestors and to our children, but to every species that's blessed to be on this earth. Thank you so much for being able to bear witness and be with you.
I kept my glasses that time. Joseph Peters. I know you're just up here, but as a witness,
Thank you. It's an honor to be up here. First of all, I'd like to thank the Tulalip people for having us here today. Also, thank you, Salmon Defense, for putting together this wonderful program. The oral history here is important, as Glenn had mentioned, and I grew up on the water. I grew up fishing with my father, and being out there on the water, he told the stories when we were out fishing on how, you know, my grandpa and my great-grandfather were out fishing illegally with 50-foot, 100-foot nets in the dark and throwing fish in the apple crates and selling them illegally again, or smoking some fish. And as we're out there and I'm fishing as a young man, he's telling me stories about Billy. Now, I was born after the Bolt decision, not long, about 9 months. So maybe my parents were celebrating something, I don't know. So I'm a post-Bolt generation tribal member, fisherman, and you know, I'm honored that I have this opportunity to exercise my right. And if it wasn't for Billy and the leaders to do that and fight for that right, I wouldn't have that today. And I'm very thankful for that. Today, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to tell this story. I'm going to tell that what I was here for. And the key point here is to inspire our young people. And I think it's, again, we're going to tell the story, but we're going to tell the truth. We need to tell the truth. If we tell the truth, then we can get the things done that we need to get done. And we need to tell these young people, and we need to inspire them to protect our resources, and inspire and teach them about our treaty rights, and continue to push this. So the key here is just to tell the truth. That's what Billy wanted us to do, you know, and then we can inspire, and then we can enlighten, and we can ignite after that. So thank you, and it was a really honor to be here today. Thank you.
Tuptalo, Sean Yennedy.
Well, I am also very honored to be asked as a witness. You know, to not only just ignite us, but the work that we've got to do to ignite everyone else that isn't here at the table. You got to find a way to reach their interest, reach something that gets them to understand our position and why salmon are so important. And I want to use an example of what we did with our agricultural community in the Stillaguamish. We had an opportunity to get a piece of property, and it came with some opposition with some of the agricultural folks because it was ag land being converted to fish. And, you know, we sat and thought about it, and just looking at our history, our ancestors on the estuaries creating little dikes to manage the plants, managing the land for our medicines, working the land for our salmon, and that's what we're doing now with these restoration projects. We're in the food business as well. It's just a different food source. Whether we're co-managing or are working the land, whether it's for clams, salmon, or elk, we're trying to protect our food. Those essential things that feed our soul. You hear that. Ray Freiberg was up here. You'd hear him, talk about feeding your Indian. And it's getting harder and harder to do when those resources aren't there. For 10 years, I was going to the North Falcon process talking about our fish run, how bad it is, telling everybody don't become an issue like we have on the Stillaguamish. It's not fun sitting on the beach. Then you have the folks on the other side of the aisle, the sports fishermen, that get all worked up because they can't come and fish the Stillaguamish for chum. How dare we open up a season? You got to bring them in. And we did that. Shared our story that we're a terminal tribe and we've got nowhere else to fish. And through the conversation, when you get them one-on-one, it's a lot easier to break the ice than having 2 or 3 people on the opposition, because they like to gang up on you. They feel a little stronger. But if you sit down and personalize it, get them to realize we're not much different. You have an interest, I have an interest, and it's the salmon. Each and everybody in here is tied to the economy of salmon. We haven't had an economy on salmon for almost 40 years. And when you lose that link to the salmon, you lose that link to your culture, your identity, and it's hard to get those kids out on the river to learn all those teachings. Well, one thing that we've seen is we've got a couple families where we've got a grandparent who hasn't fished since the 80s, and their great-grandchildren know nothing to that connection of the river. You lose all the stories. And they don't hear why it's so important, why we fish this area, why we stay away from this area. And these are things that we share with a lot of folks, try to get them to understand. So if you can, ignite individuals one at a time. It's like the political change in our politics. The fight doesn't change, it's how you fight. It's how you come to the table. And I don't mean a fight as, take off the gloves and we're duking it, but we always talk about the fight is there. It's to get our story across, to make sure that our treaty is protected, make sure our salmon, the habitat these things are being done. We're being heard. You just change your tactics. And it's been a long road for me to figure out how those tactics are. In the wildlife arena, we're battling with the agricultural folks on elk. We're also battling on the salmon. We got to find a way to get them to ease up and realize we're in the food industry as well. And we have a cultural tie to that land long before they got there. We understand that there's a culture there to agriculture. They've been there. They're part of the community. We don't want you heard it from Billy. We don't want them to go away. I enjoy occasional ribeye once in a while when I'm not eating elk or moose. Nancy. So anyway, I just wanted to share those because there's some of the struggles that we face on the Stillaguamish, and thinking about all the lessons and stories that Billy tries to ignite in each one of us, how we tell our story. And so I'm just very thankful to be here and very thankful that all you guys are still here to hear all the great speeches, all the great words, and all the great work that you do. Thank you.
joyous. Good afternoon, everyone. I know we're all tired. It's been an incredible day filled with wisdom and history, and I'm just truly honored to be called to witness this event. I witnessed so much today. I jotted notes down all day, heard so many brilliant things and great stories that need to be told. And first of all, I want to thank the team who put this together, Pagan, Willie, and your whole team. The reason I thank you for this is because this is telling the story. But also, one man, and might be in a disagreement, but this is how I feel. One man brought us together today. Not just tribal leadership, but you have the state, you have state officials, you have elected, you have senators, you have WDFW, you have many others here today together, hoping to work together. And I've witnessed a calling out, a request, an open invitation to work together. And not repeat the past. The guns don't need to be pointed at each other. They need to be pointed at the issue. And as Billy, in his animation, the animated video, you see the sewer coming out from the walls of the river. You see different things that harm the salmon and harm his way of life and our way of life. And what makes us who we are and what ensures our future. And I know it's hard to empathize with a Native American constantly talking about treaty rights and what salmon mean to us, and the connection it has to us and our children and the future generations. And Billy did a great job of telling that story. He told the story and fought the battles with an intensity that a lot of us will never ever be able to fill the shoes or have that intensity. But together we can have that intensity, and we've seen that, we witnessed that. Here recently, when a big net pin spill that breeds invasive species and pollutants in our waters, in our Salish Sea, that when it breaks, it goes into your river and rivers all throughout Washington and Canada. We came together, we told our story, we said why this is wrong, we tried to partner and work together, and I witnessed great speakers today. And what was fascinating about it is the great speakers today focused a lot on the youth that were here earlier. And that says so much. Because the way that leadership of the past embraced the fights, felt it was necessary to fight these fights not just for us, but for future generations, not just for tribes, but everybody to come, everyone within this state. Because inevitably what happens to us, what happens to the salmon, what happens to the orca, happens to everyone. And as Mr. Parker said earlier, we are a place-based people. This is all we know. This is our home. Our connection to our ancestors and to the water and to the Salish Sea and to our future generations is right here. I witnessed so much today, and I'm just so grateful for what the future holds, because it's telling the story of the past and the work that was done and the sacrifices that were made, and telling the story of how one individual could fight with such an intensity, yet have the love, true love, and respect from those same individuals that we were battling because of policies. Because of policies that got us to where we are today. And those are what we need to fight against. And saying it in other words, it's past policies that got us to where we are. It's past policies that got the orcas, and the orca numbers are still going down. It's past policies and regulations and industry at the expense of our future generations, at the expense of our rivers and our Salish seas and everything that is important to us, our shellfish. It's past policies. Money, jobs, that's their story. And it's got to change because we see the near extinction of herring. We see the polluted clams and oysters today, right now. We see all the signs, and there is no better time, and we will run out of time if we don't do something together. And that was his message. That was his message to everyone in the past. That is his message today. And I'm thankful for this gathering today because it'll be the message tomorrow for future generations. And I'm so grateful that it has been documented because it inspires me. It inspires me to inspire my children. It inspires me to inspire or to teach it to our youth and to embrace the battles because it's necessary for our future. Thank you so much for allowing me to witness here today. And I look forward to next year, and I look forward to working together as one, all of us. Haishka.
Our next witness is someone very special to me. She's my youngest daughter, Zazlak Cecilia Gobin.
Ocean, Titian, Titiaya, Zadzlak Titsta, a ti eats the hopshad, a ti do all chad do flela battle tabu. Hoi ti quitsid a tias altal tabu, hoi do all ti astias all chat. Hoi ti quitsid a tias altal tabu, hoi do all ti sast heok chat, astias sulad chat, a tias yalab chat, a ti lok chat. Good afternoon, my friends and relatives, respected elders, leaders, guests. My name is Zadzalak. Many of you know me by my English name, Cecilia Gobin. And I just wanted to take a minute to thank each and every one of you for coming to my home. It's been an honor to see all of you here in my house, in our house here. I also wanted to thank Peg and her team for calling me as a witness. It's truly an honor, and I'm so very deeply humbled. So thank you. And I also wanted to take a moment to also acknowledge all of you here today, to thank you for choosing to be here to answer the call. Our elders say, when you get the call, that you answer it and that you show up. There's 100 different places that we all could have been here today, but each and every one of us chose to be here. And that says a lot. It says a lot about you as individuals. It says a lot about you as leaders. And it says a lot about your shared commitment and dedication to the work that was the life and legacy of Billy Frank, and the life and the legacy of so many of our elders and our ancestors. You heard me say a couple words. I thanked all of you for coming to gather and hold up Sashegutra, to uphold the work for our salmon Sulatra, our salmon, ours, yours and mine. To uphold the work of those who have gone on before us, our ancestors, our Yatlalabtra, and those who have gone on far, far, far beyond that, our Loklokcha, people who we have never met but that we know, that we carry a part of inside of us. As you heard many witnesses speak before me, say that we have heard a great deal of awesome words from a lot of fantastic speakers. And a lot of good things have come out here today. And I think about this day and what I hope it to be. And when we walk outside these doors, that I hope we really do change the way that we're doing things, that we really do recommit, and that we come at these problems with a new vigor and a new passion and forward thinking. But that's going to take some work. That's going to take some sacrifice, because we've done all the easy things. And we deliberately chose to do the easy things first. And that's okay. But now we're left with the hard things, the difficult things, the things that aren't politically easy, the things that will disrupt the status quo. But as we all know, and as we all hear, and as we all read about, change is hard, right? Change, nobody likes change. It's scary. You like to know what's at the end. You like to know what you're getting into. But we're out of time. We're out of time. We're out of time to continue to be okay with the status quo. And it's time to get uncomfortable. It's time to get uncomfortable because we've settled into a routine that we all kind of like, because it's easy. We know it. But it's not getting us anywhere. And so we have to challenge the status quo. We have to disrupt that routine. Because if we're serious about saving salmon, if we're serious about having a future where salmon exist, and not only exist, but thrive at a level that is able to sustain my treaty right and the right and interest of everyone else here to fish and to enjoy that gift. We have to radically change the way that we do business. We have to change the way that we do this work. And we have to decolonize our landscape, physically and politically. We have to move away from those pollution-based and extraction-based economies. We have to move away from the actions or inactions that continue to wreak havoc on our environment and that only enable further habitat destruction. We have to stop things like shoreline armoring. We have to fix the culverts. We have to enforce water quality standards. We have to hold polluters accountable. We have to stop trying to fix otherwise good legal precedent, like the Hearst decision, like the culvert case. And we have to stop fighting ourselves, because we're better than that. And we know it. And there's a whole suite of work that we can and that we ought to be doing. You heard Bill speak about it earlier this morning. We have work to do, so let's get to work. You heard Jay mention it just before. Stop pointing the guns at one another. There's a bigger battle. I look out in this crowd, and there's a mix. There's a good mix of tribal leaders, state leaders, local county officials, our First Nations leaders. Thank you guys for coming down. But I look out in this crowd, and it occurs to me that we're all here ultimately because we all care about the same things. We're all here because we're all in the same business, and that business is salmon. And we're all here because we're all concerned, yet dedicated to the future, and ensuring that we don't leave our children and our grandchildren with a world that is worse off than the one that we all have inherited. I remember being 8 or 9 years old, standing in the longhouse, hearing a relative and a dear tribal elder talk about the change that was coming. And he was talking about the year 2000. It's kind of funny to say out loud now because it's, 2018. But he was talking about the change that would come if we didn't start looking at the way that we were doing things. And if we didn't start to seriously take responsibility for the world around us, for our culture, for our people, for the salmon, for the water, for all of our treaty resources. And at 8 or 9 years old, I don't know why, but that just has always stuck with me. And I would always worry about that. What does that mean? What does that mean when we get to that juncture? When we're at that crossroads and we're literally fighting extinction as a people, but as our resources as well. But I think we're at that juncture now. And you hear us talk about it. You know, we can't lose the salmon. And we can't. We can't, just out of fact, we can't, but we really cannot because so many things are tied to that. You hear us talk about it's tied to our identity. What happens when we lose that salmon? What happens to our language? What happens to our ceremony around that? What happens to our observances of the changes in the season? Who's going to know that the monarch butterfly comes out just before the return of the spring Chinook? Who's going to know that when the ocean spray blooms and the cottonwoods blossom, that's the sign that the kings are coming in? Who's going to remember that if the fish are gone and nobody's really looking forward to the kings coming home? There's a whole host of things that are tied to these resources. Not just our sustenance, but our spiritual, our cultural well-being. So I think about how we move forward from today, and we've heard it all spoke about and repeated. And a large part of it comes down to telling the truth. Like Ken and his panel said, we all know what needs to be done. There's no question. We just have to start saying it. We have to start saying it together, and we have to start doing it. We have to start telling the truth. We have to embrace it. We have to own it. And part of that work, part of telling the truth, means not being afraid of the reactions to our truth telling. Stop being afraid of the political backlash. Stop being afraid of disrupting consensus, because it hasn't been consensus. It's been on the backs of the tribes. And I'm sorry, but that's the truth. For 40 years, well, more than 40 years, 163 years since the signing of the Point Elliott Treaty, our people have made sacrifices. Better or worse, we've made sacrifices to try to continue to move forward and protect what we could for our people. But we have to stop being afraid, and we just have to start speaking the truth. And we have to start saying it together. We have to be coordinated in our truth telling. Because when we signed that treaty, when we, my people in the United States government, us, our lives, our fates, our experiences, our truths became intertwined. And so we ought to be saying the same thing together. So as we leave here today, I just hope that everyone leaves inspired and unafraid to step up and to just start doing and to start saying and to start living the work for the people. So thank you all once again. Thank you again, Peg, and all for calling me as a witness. It's truly an honor. Thank you, Ocean.
She makes me proud. So we've saved our youth from the squally to come forward. To Shane, Tanisha. We asked Willie to come up also. Come up and share the closing statements from our witnesses here.
So I'd also like to bring up my other council members if they're in here, Sheila McLeod and Hanford McLeod, and our two other youth that I see that have been here all day. I'd like to bring them all up here for the final witness testimony here. But I'm going to let our youth go first. So here we go.
First, I'd like to thank everyone who's still here. I learned so much throughout this event. I learned how important it is to pass on our tradition, our way of life, the way we fish to the future generation, so our culture will live on. I also learned how important it is to know about our salmon because of how low the population is. Salmon is the heartbeat of our people. That's why it's up to us to fight back. Like what Billy said, words without action are just words. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello. So first, I'd like to thank Uncle Willie, Auntie Peg, Hanford, and Elizabeth, Robert, Grandma Sheila, Bill Kalapa, and Jordan McLeod for inspiring and influencing not only me, but our youth council in bringing us to these events. This event, I learned that We, and when I say we, I mean me and my peers, we need to start now. Like Mr. Wilkerson said or stated, you need to get to work. And I agree. My generation needs to feel the level of urgency that the speakers here today and those who fight every day feel. I remember talking to my auntie and uncle, saying that my grandpa Billy, he could have been a bitter person, but he looked past all those negative things that happened to in his life. He stepped up. So in honor of my grandpa Billy, I'd like to share a poem that I wrote. Title, When I Dip My Net. When I dip my net, I'm exercising my treaty right. When I dip my net, I'm at church. When I dip my net, I'm sustaining my culture. When I dip my net, I'm inherently managing the resource. When I dip my net, I'm feeding my family. When I dip my net, I'm ensuring future generations dip their nets. When I dip my net, I'm proud to be Nisqually. If I don't dip my net, I'll lose my treaty right. If I don't dip my net, my culture will disappear. If I don't dip my net, I'm not managing my resource. If I don't dip my net, I'm failing future generations. If I don't dip my net, I'm failing the salmon. And thank you for this opportunity to be a witness and to be here at the summit. I appreciate it. It was a great experience. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sheila McLeod. I'm Tribal Council Secretary. And also, Tom, my husband, was mentored by Billy when we were very young. And I tell this story to Benita today. Billy's dad and his mother, we would have our own first salmon ceremonies because the guys would be fishing down at the landing. And that was their first salmon ceremony for us to all get together. And Grandpa Frank's little tiny house, it was so small, I don't even know how we all fit in there. But although it was a simple meal, it was salmon and it was potatoes because we didn't have much. We had very little. We didn't have casinos. We didn't have money. But we had salmon to feed our heart and souls. And those are times that I'll never forget because you think about what can we do to keep Billy's message alive. We can bring people like everyone in this room to keep the path continuing on to where Billy wanted us to be. You know, it's not going to happen overnight. There are so many big issues out there. And these are the very same issues that we need to teach our children, our youth about, our grandchildren, so that they can understand what all of our ancestors have gone through to get us here to where we're today. And so I thank you all for being here and keeping Billy's message alive, that the tribes are here to stay.
So my name is Willie Frank III, and I'm the son of Billy Frank Jr. And today's been a special day here with all of our tribal leaders, with all of our state officials, and everybody in attendance. But this event wouldn't have been possible without the rock in my life, and that's Peg and Frank. And the rest of the steering committee that made this event possible. I heard a lot of good words today, a lot of good stories about my dad and the impact he had on a lot of people. And for me, I didn't realize that impact he had on me until he was gone. Every day was a life lesson having my dad in my life and teaching me. And you go through the ups and downs in life and you start to realize, what he was trying to teach me. And I heard everybody talk about the importance of salmon in here today. And I'm going to tell a quick story about my dad. At 82 years old, he was still fishing with my brother and I on the Nisqually River. And by that time, he was still going 100 miles an hour, but we wanted to take care of him. And there was a time we were checking our net towards the mouth of the river, and a fish hit the net, and he damn near jumped in the water after this fish. And I mean, this is 82 years old. He didn't have any rain gear, nothing on. He just went straight for the fish. So, I saw the importance for him of what our salmon meant and what they mean to all of us in this room. But us as tribal folks, we have a special value to that salmon. And that's why we're so passionate when you hear us talk about the salmon. And I really appreciate hearing Cecilia's words. It's the first time I've really heard her talk. And she did an amazing job. Being able to have our youth here today, I know there was a few more, but I think some of them snuck off to go swimming. So I'm okay with that. But, this event, I hope this is the start of a long-term commitment for all of us in this room. And I know the tribes are committed. I know all of our tribal people in here are committed to moving forward with protecting our salmon. And I thank Hillary for being one of the first ones to sign this call to action. Because it's easy for us to have these meetings, bring these people together, and talk about what we want to do. And I myself am included. I want to take responsibility to help us all move forward. Because that's what it's about, this next generation stepping up and not passing the torch, but carrying the same torch with our elders, with our leaders. Over the last 4 years, I've heard a lot of folks talk about me and trying to fill my dad's shoes. And I said, I'll never be able to fill his shoes. Nobody can fill Billy Frank Jr.'s shoes. But what we can do is all work together and come together for our salmon, for our natural resources, for our habitat. And I thank JT for being here today also, representing the governor's office. That means a lot to have you here. And the rest of the state officials here, taking your time out. It's been a long day. And I think my wife made me a witness so I'd sit through the whole thing. And I really appreciate that because usually, tribal leaders, we got so much going on, it's hard to keep our focus. But I really appreciate everybody sitting through all of this today. And I hope everybody sticks around for dinner. And today's been a great day. And I hope we can take the call for action and the next steps moving forward for the future. So I thank you. So I'd like to introduce our other youth. I'd like to have them come up here and introduce themselves. And I see one more in the very back. Aiden, can you please come up here also? Just introduce yourself. These two are both my nieces and, of course, Billy Frank Jr.'s grandkids. So I just wanted to introduce themselves. I know they're shy, but they need to start learning about public speaking. Just say your name. Say your name.
I'm Tiana Bertale.
I'm Sky Vantine.
I'm Aiden McLeod.
And our youth council just got formed a month ago at Nisqually, so I wanted to bring them up here and get them involved with the topics and the issues that are going on. So we thank you very much for coming today. I hope everybody sticks around for dinner. Thanks.
Our signature sheet is still up here for those that want to sign on and make that commitment. We have a another video to show of Billy speaking, and dinner will be at 6, and we're going to sing a song, one closing song here as soon as the video is done. So just give you a little heads up where we're at here. It's almost time to eat.
have to work together for the future of us here in the Northwest. And that's us. When I talk about it, I talk about that's us. It isn't somebody in New York. It isn't somebody in Chicago. It isn't somebody in California. Now, some of these California people might have moved here since then. But if they're moving here, they're us. And who the hell can best do this but us? It's only for the interest of all of us. It isn't for the interest of the tribes, only for the interest of the salmon. It's for the interest of our state of Washington and our communities and our clean water and our quality and quantity of water. And somebody better stand up and start talking about what we're talking about. And we're talking about water. And that is the last frontier of a battle that is going to tie us in knots. The salmon in this state is declining at a terrible rate right now. And part of it is water, watersheds. There's a whole lot of people can take a little bit of the blame. Even all of us in this room, everyone. But we have to have a change in our communities and in our society here. And that's us. We have to decide we're going to make a change. That salmon is going to be part of our society here in our region. That salmon is going to be here and it's going to be part of everything that we do in our planning stage of the long term, short and long term. That the Indian tribes and their treaties are not going anywhere. We're here, and when everybody's gone, we're still going to be here. Whether this country is poisoned or whether there's no water left or whatever, wherever the destiny takes us, if we allow it to get out of control, we will be still here. And we will be still trying to put it back together. There is no commitment to do what we're doing in this room. When everybody walks out the door, the commitment kind of goes to hell. We have to commit to making this form work, or it will not work. And if we don't do it, who will do it? Destiny is our destiny. It isn't anybody else out there. Don't let anybody else come from any part of the country divide us up. Don't let them come in here and just for their own interest start dividing us off. This is our country and only our country. It's our water, it's our salmon, it's our quality of life that we enjoy. And we have to protect it. And if we don't protect it in forms like this, we're the damned.
I think we still have some drummers here. I could use some help. This is a hand signal. So Billy's words. When we walk out this door, what's going to happen? We made the signature, we made a commitment, but don't let that commitment go to hell. Stay focused. Stay committed. Or we end up with this closing comment. If we don't, then we ain't worth a damn. All we're doing is giving lip service. And I don't want to give lip service to the next generations. We want to give them actions. We want to show them what it takes. We want to show our past leaders that we were listening and we've taught the next generations because we've showed them what needs to be done. When the fight came on to save that last salmon, who was there to do it? Are we there? Are we there together to do it? Are we doing it? I was hoping to get a response. Okay. Well, I want to thank each and every one for being here today, staying with us, listening. And some of these stories, they're not easy to listen to, because sometimes it causes us to self-evaluate. Where am I? What have I been doing? Am I coasting? Am I riding the wave? Is it going to be somebody else's issue to deal with? It's ours. It's ours. Ours is the same as we. We need to deal with it. And we need to move forward in that manner. We're going to sing a closing song here. The song actually was a song that came to me. And it's a song of new beginnings. And it's a song about, as you walk through life, you gather up unto yourself. You gather things up unto yourself. And some of them are good things, and some of them are not good things. Life experiences, things you've done, things you've learned, whatever it may be. And at various times in your life, you release those things that bother you. You release those things that you no longer need. You release those things that don't give you strength. And you move on, keeping only those things that give you strength. Only those things that give you encouragement. So it was explained to me by one of our spiritual leaders. It's a cleansing song, but it's also a song of new beginnings. We have a long history, a long story. It needs a new beginning with a new commitment of how we go forward and how we do it together for all of us. You guys want to stand down there or come up here? Come on up here. I shouldn't have asked.